Today we're going to talk about a pretty unhappy topic, and it's something that's been led up to for a little while, but was recently solidified for us. We have officially made the choice to begin to phase out the volunteer program at the Kalavan Retreat Center, which will come as a surprise for a lot of people because we become very well known for hosting volunteers. In fact, I believe we are still the only organization, the only workaway in Armenia actively hosting volunteers. Yeah. And we will no longer do that now, or at the very least, we will do it far, far less than we used to. And the short reason for why that is because it has become inequitable for us. In other words, the amount of effort I have to expend just to make sure that the people who want to come here understand what they are coming to is no longer worth it for me. And then once they're here, the amount of time I have to spend dealing with their problems and managing them and making sure they're working and making sure that they're happy here and that they're not causing social problems has essentially become a full-time job for me. And that's not something I ever wanted to do. I wanted people who wanted to be here, who were prepared to work as required, who were eager to work and learn new skills and be a part of this community here. And if you watch some of our previous videos where we're talking about things like the asshole test to filter out people with antisocial personality problems or the problems with freeloaders who come here and don't want to do any work, at the time we said it's about 10% of people who fit that description. 90% it's at least fine, if not great, and 10% of the time this person is an active problem. And even that, even just 10% is enough for it to warrant a significant amount of our time and attention and for us to try to solve it so it goes down to 0%. And I think, share with me if you agree with this analysis, I think what has changed recently is a form of brand dilution. I think we have become so well known now that people hear about us, but they don't hear anything that matters about us. We have very, very specific, extensive messaging on our website, on our YouTube channel, on our Instagram page, on our Workaway profile, certainly. Everywhere we have an online presence, we have specifically crafted, here's who we are, here's what we're looking for, here's what the experience of being here is going to be like. It's so clear to anyone who bothers to read or watch the information. And what we've realized now is that when it was just like people actively seeking out volunteer positions, those were the only ones who would hear about us, and most of those would actually read, oh, okay, this is what this volunteer experience is going to be like. Now, almost every day, we're getting people contacting us saying they want to come stay at our retreat center, and it is clear they probably have not even seen a single photo of what it's like here. They don't know a single thing about me. They don't know a single thing about our values and what the social experience is like. And particularly, if they want to come and stay for free as volunteers, they do not know a single thing about what their work obligations are going to be here. They think they're coming for a free luxury holiday. And it's now at the point where I think it's more than 50% of people. It's gotten to the point, would you agree with that? At least recently, like in the last few weeks, last month, we have been overwhelmed by shitheads. I don't know how else to describe them except that. I call them children. Child adults versus adult adults. And the critical distinction between that is that a child adult does not take responsibility for themselves. And they expect everyone around them, particularly the owner of the house they're staying in, to take responsibility for them. And that's not limited to just things like, well, telling them what work to do, because that kind of makes sense that, I would manage them to some degree in telling them what their work obligations are, but it's everything. It's like, why didn't you cook for me? Why isn't there any bread in the house? Why didn't you buy the type of jam that I like? Why is the kitchen dirty? Why is there dust in an active construction site? There shouldn't be dust. Why are there dead bugs on the windowsill? I mean, could you maybe figure out why there might be dead bugs on the windowsill? Because maybe somebody left the window open and the bugs came in a rural village. Like, is that one possible logical explanation for why? Like this is my fault somehow. People who come here, and one of the explicit things they agree to is that they will contribute to cooking and cleaning. And so then they sit there and complain, well, this is messy. Why is your house so messy? This isn't the experience I paid for my luxury holiday package and this luxurious retreat center in a rural Armenian village. And I'm sitting here thinking, whose job do you think it is to clean the mess in the kitchen? Either you think it's my job to clean up after you. You're essentially my employee in this company that you're temporarily staying in. So you think it's the boss's job to do your job for you, or you think it's all the other volunteers' job to clean up, but not yours somehow. You think you're the only one who's an exception to that. And hi, Anna.
Just to show we have cat also.
So Anna actually contributes here. Almost every day she's catching birds and mice and lizards.
Yeah, everything all me.
So she's more productive than some of our volunteers here.
Yeah.
Right.
Actually, the point is not that we want to say volunteering is bad or all volunteers that you mentioned, like, no, we had some good ones. But the point is, like, the good ones are not, like, bad ones can be painful and destroy your mind, like, for a few weeks.
They're very demotivating. When you
Yeah.
have one asshole or freeloader here,
But
it
good
has
ones
this
are
lingering
living,
effect.
and you're like, it was very nice time with them.
Okay, so that's a very simple standard that can be applied on anyone's project. While you're in my house, I should be happy that you are there. The expenses, the effort, and the time and the stress required to deal with you being in my house should be significantly less than the value you contribute while you are there. Which doesn't mean I refuse to help you, because especially when somebody first arrives, hey, they don't know where things are, they don't know how things work. So yes, there's always some investment of orientation to help them get settled. Why is the Wi-Fi not working? Because sometimes it doesn't work. We're in a rural village. Sometimes things don't work, right? Okay. But if you're here for weeks, and every day it's some new fucking thing with you, and you think somehow it is my responsibility to make sure you are happy at all times, like I'm some concierge at a hotel where you booked a spa package, you should not have come here. In fact, you probably shouldn't do anything without understanding what it is you're doing. Fortunately, we have technology like the internet. So when I get somebody using the contact form on the Kalavan Retreat Center website, kalavan.net, at the very least, I know this person went to the website and used the contact form. Right? That's as much as I know about them. I'm going to assume they've at least seen the homepage of the website. Maybe they just quickly clicked on the contact and didn't read anything, didn't look at any of the videos. The very first thing you see on the homepage of our website currently is a 20-minute documentary that was done about me and this house about a year ago. Amir was featured in it, by the local news, where we talk about who we are, what we're doing, the current state of the house, and most importantly, our values, our motivation, and what kind of people we're trying to attract here. There is absolutely no way you could watch even a few minutes of that and be confused about who we are and what to expect when you come here. And in fact,
the last house that was
it should
available
be
for sale
better
here.
than what you expect, because almost all of the videos and photos we have on our website are a bit outdated now. The house is actually in better condition than it was 6 months ago or a year ago.
Right.
So if you see that and you're expecting this partially constructed house, because that's what's shown on the videos, then you should be positively surprised when you come here and say, oh, the house is in better condition than how it looked on your website. Yeah, because 6 more months of development with good volunteers has gone into it. But these people clearly do not look at a single photo. They do not watch a single video. They do not read a single sentence of information about who we are and what we're doing here. We have a blog post called 6 Types of Volunteers We Don't Want Here, which is prominently displayed on the homepage, very clearly outlining not just what kind of people we do want here, but what kind of people we specifically do not want here. So we're very clearly saying, if you fit this description, please do not come here. It's not going to be a good experience for anyone. So these people just hear, oh, there's a retreat center in a village nearby. Let's go check that out. I'll contact them and ask if we can come stay for free. And I now have to get on calls with complete strangers and assume they don't know a single goddamn thing about who I am and what they're calling about. And now it's really awkward for the ones who actually do know, who have actually done the research and know that they want to come here because they've looked into who we are. I have to start asking them really remedial questions like, so, do you know where we're located? Do you know who I am? Do you know what the general environment here is like?
Yeah.
Do you know what kind of people we are? Tell me everything you know about the Kalavan Retreat Center. And the ones who know say, like, well, why are you asking me these stupid questions? Like, yeah, obviously I saw your website, I saw your videos, like what's and then I have to explain to them, well, we have to ask these questions now, because half the people that want to come here cannot answer these questions. They just want a free place to come stay, and they assume it's going to be a luxury vacation.
Yeah.
So either I can dedicate 40 hours a week to filtering out these kinds of people who cannot take responsibility for the choices they make, or I can simply say we're not going to take new volunteers anymore, or we will on a very, very limited basis, like if they come to us through a personal referral or if they've been here before. And that is who's coming here this and next month. Some people who have been here before, or people who have personal referrals, or people who specifically reached out to us for a very, very specific reason that showed that they understood what we were doing here. But I will not spend the rest of my adult life raising other people's children. It is not something I'm going to do. This started with first a hard rule we made about not taking teenagers anymore, because we've had maybe 5 or 6 teenagers here in a year and a half, and every single one of them was a bad experience. And I'm sympathetic because I know that teenagers are not in control of their own brains. I was a teenager once too, so I get that it's really not even their fault. Like their brains just don't work, they're not fully developed. And so everything is a struggle or an argument, or they just don't understand simple things that should be obvious to adults, right? I'm sympathetic, but it's not something I want to deal with anymore. And that was clear last month when we had a 19-year-old girl here who, for 2 weeks, she seemed fine. And then suddenly she entered angsty teenage mode and scoffed and argued about every little goddamn thing for the rest of the time she was here. And at that point, I just have to start acting like a dad, because my teenage girl is disrespecting me and not taking life seriously. That's the role you're putting me in, that I have to be the disciplinary dad now, which is not something I wanted to do. And so that we were going to say, okay, no one under 21 maybe, let's say. Like they've had a few years to kind of live an adult life, move away from home, realize basic social courtesies for dealing with other adults as equals. But now we have 45-year-olds acting the same way. And it is such a surreal experience for me at 36 to be lecturing two people, a couple, 9 years older than me, who do not understand basic adult responsibilities. Like that, it's like I feel bad for them. Like, what does it look like from their perspective? I don't even look that old. Like, I probably don't even look 36 to most people, right? And here I am explaining, like, you have to take life seriously. You have to turn off the lights at night. You have to put that food back in the refrigerator. If you unplug the freezer, plug it back in. Like they do not see why that's their responsibility. They take the mentality, well, this is someone else's home. He'll take care of everything for us. We don't have to think about the consequences of our actions. We're on vacation mode.
What? Kalavan down?
Oh, so what's happening right now? Good example. Amir is closing this door because lately the ducks on our rural homestead where we keep livestock, just in case that wasn't clear to anyone watching, because we've had some people be surprised by that. You may notice if you look around, there's a lot of poop on the ground. Where do you think the poop is coming from, Amir? You have any scientific theories about that?
It's like a rain.
It just spontaneously appears, falls from the sky? I think it's probably the ducks. That would be my best guess. That animals poop. I don't know if this is news to anyone, but when you come to a rural homestead that raises livestock of any kind, they're going to poop. And lately, the ducks, unfortunately, because we are too nice to them, are no longer afraid of us. And if we leave the door open, they start coming in the door and eating the cat's food and pooping on the floor. And we make all the volunteers aware of this now, because we haven't figured out a permanent solution to this problem. We'll probably butcher most of the ducks soon, which will at least help lessen the problem. And now people are complaining that there's duck poop on the floor. And I say, okay, where do you think the duck poop came from? The ducks. Okay, why were the ducks in the house? Well, somebody left the door open. Okay, so what's the solution here? Is it my fault that someone left the door open and then that you, when one of your responsibilities is to clean the house when it's messy, didn't bother to clean the poop? Because you were expecting a luxury experience where there wouldn't be any duck poop involved? And so this is my fault somehow, right? Like I obviously should have warned them about the duck poop situation, and I'm misrepresenting this village and this home by not specifically saying ducks might poop on the floor if you bring them in the house. We give group instruction to a group of maybe 10 people. Something as simple as like, hey, every day feed the rabbits.
Yeah.
You know, or sweep the floor every morning, because it gets dirty very easily with a bunch of people and animals running around, right?
And if it's every morning, every day, it's very easier.
Right. It's just a habit. You wake up, you drink a cup of coffee, sweep the floor, takes 10 minutes, right? And then the house isn't messy, right? And 2 of 10 people will do this. And you ask the other 8, why didn't you do this thing I clearly told you to do?
And you accept it. They
They acknowledge, okay, yes, we'll do that thing, right?
Yeah.
And you send reminders in the group chat or daily when you're eating dinner or something, like, it looks like the kitchen wasn't clean today. That's interesting, right? And they actually start to justify this behavior because internally, a child adult, someone who has not reached a point of maturity where they can take responsibility for their own life, will say, well, this only applies to the responsible people in the room. I'm a child, so other people should be doing things for me. That's how I've lived my whole life. People have always taken care of me. So I'm going to let the other responsible people do this responsibility-related thing, and it won't matter if I'm not doing it because the other 9 people are going to do it. And then, of course, only the two adults present, which is usually someone like you and maybe 1 or 2 other good volunteers, are out there working hard, and it's like, everyone, I'm working. Why aren't you working? What's going on? Oh, because we're kids. You're an adult. Why should we have to work?
Yeah.
You do it for us, right? Even people significantly older than us, right? And one communist motherfucker actually justified this behavior, who was here recently. He didn't stay very long. And when we said, like, we told you to do this thing, all of you all agreed to do it. Why didn't you do it? He said, well, it's basic psychological fact that you can't give group instructions to people. They won't listen to them. And I said, well, first of all, that is true. That is a documented thing that very often, I believe it's called the deferral or diffusion of responsibility, like the same thing where if you see a crime being committed in public, 99% of people will assume, oh, someone else will call 911.
Yeah.
And they won't bother to. But if there's only one person there, then they'll do it. Like, oh, I need to do this, right? This is important that I do this. But if you think 10 other people will do it, you don't do it, right? And that's true. But if you're self-aware of that enough to say, oh, it's a problem when I do this. The person who's letting me live in their house for free is mad that I'm doing this. I guess I should stop doing this now. He just says, no, it's impossible. It's a psychological fact. It's impossible for me to take instruction from you. My brain will not take in the information. Sorry. Just impossible. And it is not a coincidence that this person was a communist.
Yeah.
Because that is the root of communism. Someone else should be taking care of me at all times. I should not have to make any decisions for myself. And that begs another question. Why would a communist come to a place that has openly advertised itself as being founded on economic self-determination and personal responsibility? Unless this communist motherfucker didn't bother to learn a single fucking thing about me or this place. Including, for instance, the book I wrote about spreading economic self-determination in this part of the world, and part of our explicit mission statement about teaching these kinds of principles to people here who still live under the delusion of communism. How many times has one of these people now come into my house and been surprised when I say I'm writing a book, or I show them one of the 7 books I've written? They say, wow, did you use ChatGPT for that?
Yeah, or AI.
Yeah.
He said, I remember.
Yeah, yes,
right
this has
now,
happened a couple times now. And one, it's pretty insulting to just assume that an artist didn't actually produce their own art. If you told me you're a painter, I wouldn't just assume you photoshopped everything. I would say, oh, nice, you must know how to paint then, right? And two, how do you not know that I'm an author? You apply to come live in my house, not knowing a single thing about me, not seeing very prominently on the website, on almost every page, is a picture of me holding the book I wrote about this place, and you don't know that I'm an author? Do you know anything about this place or me? And you're here with all these expectations about how we're supposed to treat you? Children. The self-negation principle, which we're getting to, the self-exclusionary principle, is when you exclude yourself from any group instruction or general instruction at all. So that also explains why people ignore the things we write on the fucking walls. The things we have to repeat over and over again, like, hey, if you don't like being here, please leave. Look, it's written on the wall. Yeah. So don't sit here and complain that you hate being here. Just leave. No one will hate you. We'll say thank you for leaving, right? Or another thing we have written on the wall is, if something is messy, clean it. If the floor needs to be swept, sweep it. If the garbage is full, take it out. If the sink is full, wash the dishes, and on, right? So then, when people are saying, why is no one sweeping the floor? Why is no one washing the dishes? Why is the garbage full? I can point to the sign and say, that's a great question. Why haven't you swept it? Why haven't you taken the garbage out? Why haven't you washed the dishes? Oh, well, that doesn't apply to me. It applies to everyone except me. I'm a child. You can expect me to take responsibility for these things.
Exactly. And normally you will ask them, they will say, yes, of course, very politely to you, so you assume...
Yeah, say, of course I'll do that. Yeah,
they will do it.
Of course.
And when I or someone else will ask them, like, you said yes, as I remember, and
then you
want to
didn't do it. Yeah.
Said, no, why we should do it? And I'm like, it doesn't matter why.
You told me you'd do it. We were depending on you to do it, and then you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And now it hasn't been done.
And they and when you ask them, normally, when it's not you, if it's me or another person who is responsible to see everything is going well, they're looking for any kind of things to say. Because of this or that or this, we said yes, but we don't want to do it. Why it's like this? Why it's like that? And you are like, that's anybody forced you that you should stay here, otherwise they will kill you or they will like do something against you. you're free to leave. And no, 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 we don't want to leave. We don't want to lose this free food, nice place, good weather, like organic vegetables. But we want to change it as much as
Yeah.
possible in our laziness way or lifestyle.
Try to imagine how frustrating it is that you advertise a place in a very, very, very specific way. You say, "Hey, this is a place for orange circles." Just invent any random combination of color and shape. We're not saying we hate you if you're not an orange circle. We hate you if you're red, or if you're a square, or if you're a triangle, or if you're blue. We're simply saying, go do those things in your own house. Go be a communist on your own property. That's a sign we're going to make soon, because apparently that's something we have to specify. That the irony, of course, of communists not believing in private property. But we're simply saying this is what this place is. This is the kind of person it's for. And so initially, you're very naive, and you think, okay, so that's the only kind of person who will want to come here, because we've specifically said this is who it's for. And so obviously, if you're not this kind of person, you're probably not going to enjoy being here, right? Right? I wouldn't go to like a Muslim church and be like, hey guys, I'm not Muslim. I don't know anything about being Muslim. I don't enjoy anything about the whole Islam religion, but I'm here now. Or it's say, okay, that's for them to do their Muslim thing. Obviously, that's not intended for me, right?
Exactly.
Right. But instead, what happens is a certain type of person, there's like a subtle kind of sociopathy or something, where they say, oh, okay, so this person wants me to act like an orange circle in order to be accepted to go there. Got it. Okay. And so then they say all the things that they think they want us to say. And say, yep, that's what kind of person I am. That's what kind of work I'm going to do. Okay, great. And then they get here, and they're not really acting like an orange circle. They're acting like a blue triangle. And you're sitting there thinking, that's not really how we do things here, or that's not what we care about, or what we're focused on here, or what kind of culture we're trying to build here. Yeah, but you should. This place should be for blue triangles, because I'm a blue triangle, and I'm here, and I think it's unfair that you don't include blue triangles like me.
Yeah.
And it's almost like some of them, like a religious missionary type of thing, like the capitalism thing. Like, okay, again, you don't have to like capitalism or personal responsibility. Just don't go to a place full of people like that, and there won't be any problems. Go be a communist on your own property, right? But instead, they come here and they say, I don't like that this guy supports free market capitalism. I should introduce him to the gospel of communism.
Yes.
Like I haven't heard of this revolutionary idea of the government controlling everything for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of just accepting, oh, this is the house I've chosen to come live in, so I should deal with that, they say, no, he shouldn't be like this. This place shouldn't be like that. I have a problem. It's blue triangle house now. Fuck orange circle house.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here thinking, most of these people aren't even here very long. They're going to leave in a couple weeks. So I'm sitting here thinking, what is it you think you're changing? Even if for the 2 weeks you're here, you feel like you've made a blue triangle influence, you're going to leave. And what do you think is going to happen when you're gone? It's going to go back to being exactly the way I want it to be, because you're not here anymore. And it's my house.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And the point is, you never force them to do some specific task. Like, you have to just shoveling and digging 4 hours a day. You are like, okay, what are you good in? And they do ads.
Yeah, so what I was saying before, when I show people, I always give a very detailed video tour where I show things like, hey, we have hairy dogs and cats living in our house, so don't come here and complain about pet hair, right? Hey, there's a bunch of construction going on, so don't complain about sawdust and noise, right? So you show them this, and you show them this is the kind of work we're focused on doing, not specifically requiring that they do this type of work, right? But at least preparing them, this is what the environment living here is going to be like. And then they say, why is this place under construction? Like, you showed me that on the video, but I didn't think that would affect me in any way.
Yeah.
Like, it's not fair that I have to deal with the noise of the construction or the dust it creates. And what, now you expect me to do construction work with you? Nobody told me that that's what I was signing up. I showed you. But again, the self-negation principle is, I don't exist. This is just stuff that's happening somewhere out there theoretically. It doesn't factor into the choices I'm going to make. Like, they legitimately cannot project themselves into that situation. They don't have a strong enough sense of self that they can say, okay, so when I go there next month, that's what I'm going to be dealing with. It's good that he's showing me this so that I can imagine that and decide if that's something I want to deal with. Instead, they just say, oh, that's interesting, a construction site. Great. What does that have to do with me? Well, everything if you want to come to the construction site. Like, can you imagine if this were a traditional job and people are applying not knowing a single thing about the job, and you explain in very clear detail, here's the office where you're going to be working, here's what your responsibilities are going to be, here's your coworkers, and they say, oh, that's cool. Well, I don't want to deal with any of that, so I'll just do the job the way I want to do it.
Yeah.
I'm going to work from home and not deal with any of that bullshit. Like, you don't see how this applies to you, why I'm sharing this information with you? Like, really? Like, that's legitimately what it is. You're dealing with idiots. You're dealing with people who I don't know if the right psychological term is like they don't have an ego or something. Ego is usually used in a bad context, like having too strong an opinion of yourself.
Yeah,
but it's almost like they don't have a sense of self.
Yeah.
Like they cannot project themselves into another state and see what that's going to be like. They just say, oh, this stuff is just happening around me. Huh, I don't know.
I think they're raised like this. And also there is second point that, as I know, you never force people or expect people that if you want to come here, which in most of the workaway, the volunteering project is common, that I will accept you if you come 2 weeks or more, not less. You never told them. So you are like, come here, although you're showing few times. There is like a few documentary, lots of videos that where is Kalavan Retreat Center exactly. Although when they are coming here and say, I think I am not belong to here or I cannot help you, you never say, but you promised me.
A couple times, maybe twice, I think, someone has come here and it seemed fine. And then the day after they say, yeah, this isn't really the kind of experience I want. I'm going to leave tomorrow. And we say, oh, okay, like, sorry, did we, miscommunicate in any way? Did we fail to prepare you for what it would be like here? And they say, no, I just realized this isn't how I want to spend the next 2 weeks. Like, okay, fair enough. Like, sorry, for the inconvenience. Thank you for letting us know as soon as you knew, and we'll help you get a taxi out of here. Because that's the best you can do in that situation. If you realize you're not going to be happy here, we'll help you leave. Don't sit around for the next 2 weeks and complain that we haven't done enough to make you happy. If this is somebody who does not take responsibility for their own life and their own choices. They say, it's Greg's fault that I'm here having a miserable time.
Yeah.
Because it can't possibly be that I made a choice not thinking about what the consequences of that choice would be. I keep talking about this distinction between child adults and adult adults. Yeah. And the irony, of course, is that I actually work with children as a teacher in a variety of capacities. I'm very good with children. I'm very happy to work with children. It's not a skill set every adult has, because children are generally eager to learn. Children are stupid. They're ignorant. They don't know how the world works, but they have a valid excuse for that, right? And most of them are eager to learn these things. With a child adult, they have the same level of ignorance or stupidity or irresponsibility, but they're missing the curiosity and the ambition and the enthusiasm. So you can't really do anything about a child adult. They will just act like a child the rest of their life. And a very good test for this is, do I feel like I can trust the group of people currently inhabiting my house not to destroy anything or do anything terribly irresponsible? Or do I feel like every day I need to be checking if somebody did something incredibly stupid, like leaving the oven on, or lighting something on fire, or burying our tree sprouts in rubble, or unplugging the freezer when you move it and not plugging it back in for 3 days and all the meat starts to spoil and nobody bothered to do anything about it, which is a real thing that happened. True story. One evening, I came down to the kitchen and I saw one of our child adult volunteers, eating melted ice cream out of the tub. And I thought, oh, that's odd. And there were like 4 other people in the room, and they all commented, haha, it's like you're eating ice cream soup. Like, they were laughing about it. So they were all aware that this person is eating melted ice cream. And I thought, oh, I guess he must have left the ice cream out or something and forgot about it. Now, yes, it's melted. Okay, strange.
Mix it with the
whatever.
Or something.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, it's odd, but... And I remember even thinking at the time, should I look into that? Like, why is this person eating melted ice cream? Like, what? No, it's probably fine, right? Go to sleep. The next morning I wake up early. I tend to wake up before everyone else, around 6 a.m. And I go to get some meat out of the chest freezer to let it thaw over the day so I can cook it. Then I notice none of the meat in the freezer is frozen. And the freezer is big enough and full enough that you could unplug it for at least a day and it would stay cold enough for things to still be frozen, which we've known if the power goes out for a day, things still stay frozen because it's insulated and everything cold in there. And so for everything to be thawed, it had to have been at least 2 or 3 days that the chest freezer was unplugged. And I don't know because I'm not getting food from there every day. It's sort of like long-term storage. And then I think back to the day before when this child was eating melted ice cream, and everyone was laughing about the fact that the ice cream was melted. And I realized they all knew that the food in the freezer wasn't frozen. And rather than either telling me about it or seeing if it was plugged in, which by the way was clearly visible that it was not plugged in, or moving it to our other working freezer, we have two, they just didn't do anything about it. They just said, ha, melted ice cream. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a kid.
Yeah, I don't care.
My ice cream is melted. Okay. And so I called a meeting with these 5-ish people who ranged in age from early 20s to mid 40s,
Yeah.
all of whom were aware of the problem, one of whom we found out was particularly responsible for it, the 45-year-old woman who moved the freezer 3 days ago and unplugged it in the process and didn't bother to plug it back in, which she never acknowledged or apologized for. She just said, well, it's still my fault. How could I know, right? And I asked them, and it got to the point where I was screaming at them like an angry father because I was saying, first of all, there is hundreds of dollars of meat in here that is going to go to waste. If it's might still be good, we have to figure out if it's spoiled or not. Second of all, if we eat this and we don't know it's spoiled, everyone in the house is going to get food poisoning and vomit everywhere and may have to go to the hospital. Why is it that 5 of you were aware of this problem and nobody thought you needed to do anything about it? Why is it now that I have to spend every day looking for bullshit like, did somebody unplug the freezer and forget to tell me? Did somebody light a fire somewhere and forget to put it out? Like, why are you acting like children? And then I thought back to a year ago when I went to visit California for a month, and I entrusted you to look after my entire house with a small group of other people that we knew well. And why did I feel comfortable leaving you alone here for a month and trust that the house wouldn't burn down or nothing serious would go wrong? Why?
Like, maybe I am responsible enough, or I am normal.
So what is the difference between you and these 5 children?
I'm not children.
Yeah, but what is the difference between an adult and a child adult?
Like, they don't, I don't know, hard to, like, for me it's not understandable. Like, they're, like, they don't feel like they are responsible to something. Yeah.
Well, I summarize it as an adult thinks about the consequences of their actions, which is called being responsible, whereas a child does not. A child only thinks about what's right in front of them, immediate stimulation. Candy, a toy, oh, a puppy. You know, that's how children act, right?
Yeah.
Which again, that's the state of their neurological development. It's not their fault. It's cute when they do it. But you know why they can do that? Because they have adults being responsible on their behalf to make sure they don't run out into traffic or do something incredibly stupid that will get them killed, right?
Yeah.
So when a 45-year-old or even a 20-year-old is doing the same thing and they're expecting me to play the role of the adult in their life, well, dad will notice that the freezer's not working eventually,
Yeah.
right? And it got to the point where I was screaming at them. And if you've seen the way I usually talk to people, I know I get very agitated in these videos, but normally when I talk to people, even about serious issues where I feel like they've done something seriously wrong, I'm very calm, I'm very direct, I'm very respectful. I say, okay, here's what happened. How are we going to solve this problem? Do you have anything to say about this, right? And for me to get to the point where I'm screaming at these people because they were going to give us all food poisoning or let hundreds of dollars of meat spoil is just astounding. Like, why should I ever have to scream at people living in my house? If it's at that point, you should not be in my house.
No, but like, first you are coming, it's not the first meeting that you had, but you are coming very mad, but acting gently, calm, like, this is a problem. Like, we cannot continue this again and again. It doesn't make sense. And the point, instead of say, oh, first we are sorry that it happened.
Yeah, it was my fault. I moved to the freezer 3 days ago. I guess I forgot to plug it back in. I apologize. If there were any monetary losses due to my error, I will compensate you for them. That's what a responsible adult would do.
And instead of that, they say, why we need that much of meat? Why we should plug in? Why we should think
Just buy more meat.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God. And in that case, you are not any more gentle. You are yelling like, no, this is not working. I don't want to have like this method in my house. And they're like, oh, he's weird. This weird guy.
Why is he getting so worked up about melted ice cream? I don't understand.
And
I want to go back to my video games now. And I told them, you know, this is oddly enough the best possible preparation I could ever get for having my own kids.
Yeah.
Because now I know what it is like to live in a house full of ignorant idiots,
Yeah.
right? And that's what's true when you have a 2 or a 3-year-old running around and they leave their toys on the stairs or something where you're going to trip on them, or they do something incredibly stupid and they don't tell anyone, and it's up to you to constantly watching them and fixing their mistakes before they become serious problems, right?
Actually, you should be very unlucky to have that level of kids. Normally.
Well, no, they do that once by default, but then if you're a good parent, you explain to them, hi, here's why we keep the food frozen.
Yeah.
In case you didn't know, if the food isn't cold, it will spoil and smell very bad and we will get very sick. Here's why. Here's how germs work. You want to read a science book with me, little Billy? And, like, that's what I would do with a child to explain, okay, so now we know why it was a mistake to unplug the freezer and not tell me. Okay, so in the future, let's not do this anymore. Do you understand now? I love you. Please don't think I hate you for this one mistake you made, right? That's what I would say with a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
With a 45-year-old who doesn't even apologize. How do these people live?
No, the point is like, I saw their lifestyle. I don't want to mention to keep information. Everything is perfect in their lifestyle. They are sensitive about their backpack, their car, their everything. But when it's coming to your,
Yeah, then
doesn't
suddenly all the rules are up. We're on
Yeah.
vacation. Someone else is taking responsibility for everything we do now.
yeah. So they are like, why you don't buy enough for us? Why you and what does that mean? Like why you don't buy enough some foods for us? Like why you don't pay enough? They want to say like this because you are buying enough. Everything is more than enough, but they said not enough for me. What you should pay more, daddy.
Another difference between child adults and adult adults is that adult adults can take in new explicit information and change their behavior based upon it. Children cannot do that.
Yeah.
You tell them, don't unplug the freezer. I don't understand why. Why should we do that?
Yeah.
Last winter, we had some goddamn kids. Again, they were adults in their 20s, but they are kids, so I'm going to refer to them as kids. And we keep the bathroom tap open in winter so the pipes don't freeze, which is common in winter climates, right?
Yeah.
And we turn off the lights at night, just in general, to save electricity. So every day, like I had them written on the wall, turn off the lights at night, don't close the bathroom tap so the pipes won't freeze. And every day, the lights would be on all night, and somebody would keep turning off the bathroom tap. And I'd catch it right after it happened, and I'd go to each person, were you just in the bathroom? Did you turn off the bathroom tap? No, I saw another guy was in there. I don't know who did it, like 5 minutes after it happened. Like, well, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, who turned, I don't know. Yeah, who turned on the lights at night? I don't know. Like, I think someone else went to bed after me. Who knows? It could be anyone, right? There were only like 5 people in the house. There were only so many people it could be, right? And every single day, they cannot take new instructions. They've just decided, okay, this is the way I'm going to act, and that's it. And you try to say, okay, but change one thing about how you act. Yeah, I can't do that. Sorry. This is the way I act.
Yeah.
Nope.
Or like we had another problem, like when like you bought 120 eggs that was odd, like not normal. You never buy 100, like 4 a year. And you bought, and I was like, oh, probably it's a wedding party or what.
No, I bought a 2-week supply of eggs because I figured that's how good the eggs,
Yeah.
long the eggs would stay good, at least 2 weeks.
And yeah, it's inside is cold, so we can keep the eggs, and they finish it immediately in
They ate
3
it in
days.
3 fucking days. They ate
And
120 eggs.
Like 9 people were there, and 5 of them ate like 80% of the
and
eggs.
they blamed me for not telling them how many eggs they were allowed to eat.
Yeah.
They just saw a bunch of eggs and said, I'm going to eat as many of those as I can.
Yeah.
And I came up with a name for this principle too. I call it the cookie jar principle. You know what I mean by the cookie jar principle?
No.
It's another child mind kind of thing. An adult will say, "Oh, okay, here is a kitchen full of food meant to feed between 5 and 10 people for an extended period of time. So we should all consume these shared resources responsibly so that they last the long time they are clearly intended to." Right? So if I buy a few kilos of apples one day, that's not for you to eat all of them as quickly as possible. That's so that we'll have apples for a while, like at least a week, if not more, right? And the same thing, if I buy 120 eggs, more than I've ever bought before, you see that and you think, I need to eat those before anyone else does, because I really like eggs. Mom left the cookie jar open. Let's see how many cookies I can get before she notices.
Yeah.
That's the cookie jar principle. That's an aspect of child mentality.
Yeah, but the point was like, they are not child. They are fucking.
Well, yes, I'm
adults.
saying mentally they're children.
Yeah,
These are
yeah,
45-year-olds. The number of times also that people have complained that there's no bread. And I say
Yeah.
to them, where do you think bread comes from? Since there's obviously no bakery around here, I can only think of one place for the bread to come from. Fortunately, we have a large supply of various types of flours.
Maybe they think
Flour.
Jesus should send.
Yeah. Or, you know, if you really don't want to make your own bread, when I go into town and I do the shopping and I always ask, make me a list of what you want me to buy while I'm in town, you can say, hey, buy a lot of bread because we don't want to make our own bread. You can do that. Instead of saying, why is there no bread? There should be bread here. Okay, make some bread. We don't know how to make bread. Okay, well, lots of the people here know how to make bread. Maybe they'll teach you. Or maybe we have this thing called the internet that'll give you very simple instructions on how to make bread. Well, we don't want to do that. Then I guess you won't have bread.
When we have oven, when we have flour, when we have
I
everything.
provided you a fully functional working kitchen, well stocked. You don't want to do anything with it. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you thought somebody would be cooking for you. I'm standing here in our thriving garden where we have several plants planted here in the fields outdoors and 2 greenhouses, one of which is new and just has sprouts in it, but one of which you may notice is completely overgrown with green things, which makes it very appropriate to call a greenhouse.
Yeah.
Now, would you consider it reasonable to spend 2 weeks living in a place like this and complain that there aren't enough vegetables available? Is there any way you could rationally reach that conclusion when you see all the zucchini, the squash, the tomatoes, the Brussels sprouts, the kale, the cabbage, the lettuce, the mint, the sunflowers, the celery, the other types of lettuce? I've forgotten half the stuff we have growing here. Beets, potatoes. That's just what I see. There's much more hidden. It's all kind of just interspersed here. Would it all be rational, especially people who are actually actively working in this area, people who spent their time building these paths here and preparing this greenhouse, so they are clearly aware that this space exists. They spent considerable time around everything green growing here. Would it be reasonable for that person to complain that I don't buy enough vegetables for them?
It's like insane.
Because that's a real thing that happened with 2 45-year-olds who were here recently. These were the kinds of people who pretend to be very nice whenever the boss is around, and this is another common thing among the shitheads who come here. They always act like everything's fine when I'm in the room, and then when I'm not there, they'll complain to people like Amir or the other volunteers constantly about how much they hate it here, and I don't buy enough of their favorite food, or I don't do enough of this or that. And they never once directly address these concerns with me, or I would either, one, offer solutions to that, like, oh, okay, you want me to buy more cabbage? Okay, I'll remember that next time I go shopping. Or I would say, and this is probably what they're actually afraid of, you know, it just seems like you really don't like being here. So maybe you shouldn't be here anymore. Because they don't want me to kick them out. They want to keep staying somewhere they claim that they hate being because it's a free place to live. So Amir comes up to my room one day and says, can you go talk to these assholes? Because I've spent the last hour arguing with them about vegetables. Like, I don't even remember the context.
No, it was like easy. I asked them, like, it seems like he went for grocery like Greg 3 days ago. It was like vegetables, fruits, although we have organic vegetables and 120 eggs again. And now I can see there is no egg for me. I got 4 eggs. The first minute that you got the 2 kilogram of expensive apple, you peel all of them and we want to make apple pie. Maybe some people want to have fresh.
Maybe you shouldn't have unilaterally decided this is the best use of the apples meant to feed 10 people for 2 weeks. Oh, we'll just make apple pie for everyone, and then there will be no more apples. So eventually, like, we'd already argued with these people earlier that day about the freezer situation and how they almost let all this meat go to waste. And now Amir's telling me they're complaining about the vegetable situation. And so I'm like, okay, I got to go talk to these assholes again. And it's funny because several times we'd been having public, like, philosophical discussions that I record openly on my phone because they end up being notes for content I want to put into a book about these types of experiences. So we record these conversations because I know I'm not going to remember them perfectly later. And I brought the recorder down to talk about, okay, let's talk about the vegetable situation because I'm thinking, let's be proactive about this. There's a lesson somewhere in here. Why is it that these people don't feel like I provide them enough vegetables? What can I teach other community managers when people think there aren't enough vegetables? How do we avoid getting to this point? So I'm going to record this conversation. I'm openly holding the phone. And as they start talking and saying, I walk in the room and say, okay, would anybody like to say that they think I don't buy enough vegetables? And all these people who've been complaining about me for an hour and for 2 weeks behind my back about how bad of a manager I am, say, yes, you don't buy enough vegetables. And suddenly they're very calm, very professional. You should buy more vegetables. And I'm saying, okay, well, there's a whole garden and a greenhouse full of vegetables. You can see it if you look out the window. You don't buy enough of the vegetables we want. And we need more jam for our bread. There are several jars of homemade jam in the corner. You've been walking past them every day that you've been here.
She was cleaning, so I used that saw them.
No, she didn't even say anything. She just dismissed what I said. She didn't even say oh, well, I don't like that type of jam or something. It was just whatever.
No, they thinking, oh, it was a mistake to say jam.
Yeah. Okay. And at this point, they asked me to stop recording. They were very upset that I was recording this conversation, even though I recorded several conversations that we were all involved in. And it's because on some level, they recognize they sound ridiculous, right? That if they were to hear back this recording, they would sound like crazy people, right? And that's why they want me to stop recording, so they don't want there to be a record of this conversation happening, right? And you can see, too, that none of their complaints make any sense. They're just looking to complain. They're looking for some kind of accusation they can make that Greg's a bad host. He doesn't buy us enough jam. What about all that jam there? That doesn't count. Right?
Yeah, they don't say that, doesn't they move to another thing.
We'll forget about that. What about this? There's not enough vegetables. There's not enough vegetables? What? I should have grown twice as many? What are you talking about? Well, it doesn't count. And these same people left a public review saying something to the effect that the host isn't interested in talking, that I ignored them socially, like I was a bad host. And I sat there thinking, no one in my life has ever accused me of not talking enough. Usually people say I don't shut up, right? And they've heard me having these long philosophical discussions, the kind of thing you expect at a personal development retreat center, actually. And you realize, oh, they don't count that. They were thinking well, Greg didn't ask me where I'm from and what my favorite pet was when I was a child. And he isn't asking me about what type of music I like to listen to. And I don't get to tell my life story to him. Greg's a bad host for not making enough small talk. And you realize they're employing a selection bias, a filter, where only a particular type of thing counts in their analysis. So when you immediately point to the counter evidence saying, actually, I've been talking all day. Actually, we have a garden full of vegetables. Actually, we have several jars of homemade jam there. They just say, well, that's not part of the category I'm talking about. Yeah. That's not vegetable. That's not jam. That's not talking. I only mean a very specific type of talking, a very specific type of vegetable, a very specific type of jam. And somehow they thought, coming to a remote Armenian village, those very, very specific needs would be catered to while they were here. And never once in the 2 weeks they were here, when I say, I'm going to go into town today and buy groceries, if there's anything you want me to buy, that they say, well, we really, we're much happier when we get lots of carrots every day or something, whatever it is, because I'm like that with some things too. When I was traveling around the world, I used to carry premium quality coffee with me because the quality of my morning is better if I have really good coffee. In most places in developing countries, hostels or guest house or hotels or whatever aren't going to be offering the quality of coffee that I want. So I don't expect them to do that. I take care of that myself. I take responsibility for my own needs. So if you're the kind of person who loves carrots and the quality of your life depends upon your ability to consume lots of carrots every day, either one, buy your own fucking carrots, or two, at least communicate to me, Greg, we'd really appreciate it if you bought maybe twice as many carrots this time because we really, really like carrots. Yeah. Right? And don't just say, you should have known we wanted more of this particular vegetable because this is a vacation and your job is to cater to what makes us happy. Yeah. And we realized, or at least we hypothesized, and this was confirmed for us by another German staying here. These were two German people, and there's a reason that's relevant, right? Because if you know anything about Germany, I've been there a couple times, I know a lot of Germans, I work with some Germans, they describe it as a type of nanny state where the government is very, very strict but very, very caring. The government provides everything for you, all you have to do is follow all the rules. And therefore, you don't really make any of your own choices or take responsibility for anything in your own life. And younger Germans, like we have a 20-something-year-old German here now, we've had other Germans here that we've had great experiences with, they can move away from that and adapt outside of that. But 45-year-old Germans come here and are very upset that no one is taking care of them. No one is making all their choices for them. No one is telling them exactly how many eggs they're allowed to eat every single day. No one is preparing all these things that they expect for them. And they never even voicing that they want these things done because that's not part of their worldview. It's just, they should just be done. We've always had a mom in the state looking out for us. The day they arrived, we all saw, it really seems like these people didn't know what they were getting into when they came here. It seems like they were expecting some kind of holiday retreat.
Say
right?
The duck program.
Oh, the fucking duck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Jesus.
Fucking duck. Who could imagine it can be part of the story?
Yeah, like why is this a thing that's happening? Like you invite enough crazy people into your house and they'll find everything crazy they could possibly do. And this is one example. The day the Germans arrived, we killed 2 ducks. And we cut one up and left it in the fridge to be consumed immediately, and we left one whole and put it in the freezer to be consumed at some future date, which is typically what happens when you put things in the freezer instead of eating them immediately. Because it would have stayed good for a few days in the fridge. So if we're putting it in the freezer, it's indicating we don't plan to eat this immediately, right? Yeah. And I ate a little bit the morning after, just like a little piece that I cooked. You ate a little bit. I think that was it. So there was at least half the duck left. And we said to them, there's some duck in the fridge. Help yourself to it if you want. Well, first of all, most people don't even necessarily want duck. Not everyone likes duck. It's kind of an odd meat that either you like or you don't, right? And we said, help yourself to this expensive, frankly, a luxury meat. It's not like a cheap frozen chicken you get from the store. Like, this is really good quality meat that's usually expensive if you buy it in the store. Homegrown, just like our vegetables, right?
Yeah, and you don't give them hormones or something.
Yeah, organic, free range, all that bullshit, meats. Right? And they interpreted that as, okay, so we'll cook some duck for dinner tonight. How many people will be joining us? And I said, well, I just had a big lunch, so I probably won't be eating dinner tonight. And you said, oh, I'm not hungry. I already had duck today. So it was the 3 or 4 people who said, okay, we'll eat. And instead of eating that half the duck that was still in the fridge and already cut into pieces and prepared to be cooked, they take the whole duck out of the freezer.
Without asking.
Without asking. We said you can have the duck it's in the fridge. Help yourself to it. They said, we want to cook a whole duck.
It was kind of hidden.
For 4 people.
Like they hide it somewhere, and accidentally I find it in the oven.
They hid it in the oven to defrost. They didn't tell anyone that they were planning on cooking the whole duck. They just decided, well, we don't want to cook half a duck. We want to cook a whole duck because it's like this, ceremonial thing for them, right? Even though, like we already said, that some of the people wouldn't even be joining. So it's not like they want the whole house to come and eat this duck together that we killed. It was just like, well, we want a whole duck, right? And we confronted them. We said, we're saving that for later because we don't farm mass amounts of duck. We only have a few, right? So when we kill one, it's kind of a big deal. But you're welcome to the half a duck we left for you, right? Which again, I'm not at all obligated to provide you duck meat, right? That's not part of what I agree to as your host, right? But I remember at first I was trying to defend them. Like, I didn't want them to think like we were being overly antagonistic and judgmental. I said, yeah, okay, I can see why you thought it was just a nice thing to do to offer to cook the whole duck for everyone. Okay, but now okay, so adjust your expectations. Like, don't just do things like that without asking if it's okay, right? Okay, it's fine. Small thing, right? But when those things keep happening and they keep acting like, well, we should just be allowed to do whatever the fuck we want. We don't need your permission for anything. We can, it just shows, and they keep saying, well, sorry, we didn't know. We just did whatever we wanted. We didn't know. Okay, but at a certain point, don't you start asking, like, what's okay for you to do and what's not, instead of just assuming anything you want to do is okay?
Because about the duck, that it was the first example. The first day, they said, oh, we didn't know that. And it was acceptable. Okay. So you didn't know that we don't kill our ducks every day. It's just...
Yeah, but now we told you.
Yeah.
So if you're an adult, you'll take that new information, put it in your brain, and adjust your behavior. But if you're a child, nothing will get in.
Exactly. But you cannot repeat the same sentences like we didn't know that for the next 2 weeks about every single things and assume that we are dumb and we forgot you used this battle 10 times. About the jam, about the eggs, about the duck, about the apple, about everything. And when you ask them, like, why you finish it? What about my portion? What about, like, in total? And say, oh, we didn't know that. And you're like, how long it takes?
Yeah, how many times should we tell you until you know? But again, information is not entering.
Yeah.
It's just bouncing off.
Yeah, because they came here with it, like, amount, like I don't know, like expectation that nobody knows where that comes from, and they are like, okay, I expect that come here with a good, like a luxury vacation with the best meal ever, and don't wash my dishes, don't just cook maximum, and everybody should be appreciative that I am
I
cooking
offered
my
to
food.
cook for everyone, so I'm the nice guy
Yeah,
here.
yeah. And when everybody say no, we don't want, say, oh, but I offered you. So if you don't want, it means I can have your meat.
Yes, yes. It's the same thing with the fucking eggs. Oh, so if you're not eating the eggs, because I only ate like 3 of the eggs, right? And you, I think, only ate a few. So only half the people ate any significant amount of the 120 eggs. They interpret that as, okay, so they're giving me permission to eat their eggs because they're not eating them. Cookie jar's open. Take the cookies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They left food on their plate. That's mine.
Yeah, so I can see, and like my one of my judgment is like they are first the people who never been in another volunteering
Oh my God.
project.
So they've probably never been outside of Germany. I don't know how else to explain it. These people came here with a giant camper van,
Yeah.
and they complained that the road in a rural part of a developing country wasn't paved. And first of all, you should expect that,
Yeah.
just in general, that not every road is going to be paved. If you're driving an oversized car that can only drive on certain types of roads, that's your responsibility to figure out. Second of all, if you looked at our website or anything else ever written about this village, it always says the unpaved road uphill to Kalavan for 7 kilometers is in really bad condition. We say it on our website, right? We say that here's how to get here. Here's what to expect. Most people take a taxi. Some people hitchhike. Here's what the road is like. And then they write a negative review. The road's in bad condition. Our giant camper van had trouble navigating these unpaved roads.
Yeah.
Also, the internet wasn't high speed. This is our newest greenhouse, which just has little sprouts so far. But if you come back in a few months, just before winter, maybe we'll finally have enough vegetables to keep our very discerning German guests happy. Or maybe we'll need to build a 3rd greenhouse just for them. I don't know. I want to share a story. I know that it sounds like we've just been complaining about people this whole time, and yeah, we have. But that's kind of the purpose of this video, to explain the worst experiences we've been having lately that have caused me to firmly decide I can't do this volunteer bullshit anymore. I will not do this anymore. It's not how I want to spend my life, right? Incidentally, somebody new just arrived today, also 45 years old. And, you know, this person came here having access to the exact same information as the 45-year-old Germans I was talking about. And this person seemed to understand perfectly well exactly what kind of situation he was getting into, both physically and socially. And in fact, as soon as he arrived and I showed him around the house, he immediately suggested several things that he thought would help improve the project and how to use his expertise. He said, you should probably build a compost toilet somewhere. That'd be a good project to work on, you know. And so how is it that this person knew exactly what kind of situation he was getting into, and 2 other adults of the same age seemed to come here with zero understanding of what they would be doing here and what it would be like here, right? Both of them have access to the exact same information. So why is it going into one person's brain and bouncing off for someone else? Great question. And I want to end with another story that illustrates that sometimes you have great volunteers. Sometimes you have people who understand exactly what they're doing here and they set their expectations accordingly. The very first winter that we took in volunteers, so the house was in significantly worse condition than it is now, and that was communicated very clearly. This is a very old building under construction. Not everything is nice and modern and fancy yet, but hey, it's comfortable enough. And it's winter, and you know, we have to use a lot of coal and firewood to keep the house warm. And sometimes the power goes out because the weather's bad, and sometimes the internet doesn't work, and on and on and on and on. So that's what you should expect when you come here. You're going camping in a village, right? It's a step above camping, right? And it just so happened that the power went out the first winter here. I don't remember how many people were in the house, maybe 5 or 6. You were here, Amir.
Yeah.
Yes, and sometimes the power goes out for several hours when the weather's bad, sometimes a whole day. And so when it went out during a particularly bad snowy time, we were just waiting for it to come back on, because it usually comes back on within a few hours and at most a day. Well, it turned out the power didn't come back on for 2 days. And the primary heating system with radiators that we employ requires electricity to pump hot water around the house. So our primary heating system was unavailable to us while the power was out. We have a backup heating system, which is a wood stove that only heats the upper floor. But because we were mostly burning coal at this point, we didn't have very much firewood left. And also, we hadn't gone shopping in a while. I had planned on going shopping like the next day when this happened, but now the roads were keeping us snowed in, and we were out of power, and we were low on food and low on firewood. So you can imagine that this is potentially a recipe for disaster, where people are cold, people are hungry, it's dark, we can't even turn on the lights, we have to light candles at night. This could get very miserable very quickly, right? And I was incredibly impressed that the 5 or 6 people who were there all just kind of adapted to the situation. They just said, oh, well, that sucks. Okay, so I guess for now we'll just make do with how things are. And they clearly saw, this is something that's outside of my control. I'm doing everything in my power to fix the situation, but besides calling the power company and asking what the fuck's going on, we're trying to figure out when I can next drive my car into town to buy more supplies or something. What is it you expect me to do to fix this situation? Like someone like them would never complain, why isn't the road up here paved? This is your fault, Greg. Why isn't the internet high speed? This is your fault, Greg. You should run your own internet company and make the internet faster. You should run a paving company for your valued guests who want to live in your house for free. Like, Jesus fucking Christ, right? And like I said, I was very impressed because they came here with minimal expectations, because it was the beginning of our volunteer program. And it was very clearly communicated. This is not a luxurious setting. So we want people who are willing to rough it out with us, right? And now, like I said, I started this video talking about the brand dilution effect. So now, even though we communicate very, 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 very clearly.
Even harsh.
Right. Yeah, where we even try to scare people away so they don't come here, right? None of that matters if nobody listens to what we communicate. It doesn't matter if I'm the best fucking communicator in the world if you don't listen. Or if you have a childish mind that rejects new information when I explicitly tell it to you, right? And that's why I don't see any other solution except to stop dealing with this bullshit. I don't know how we come back from the point we're at now, where a bunch of idiots and children say, oh, I want to go live in that fancy retreat center for free. Nice, let me go there. How do I filter these people out? How do I get them to stop coming here? How do I explain in a way they will understand, where they take in the information, what it's going to be like when you get here? How do I get back those types of people who would come here and show up and say, well, hey, it sucks right now, but let's just make the best of the situation. Thanks for doing everything you can to fix this for us, Greg.
I hate the people that they are looking in your eyes and say, okay, and after that they ignore. They don't do it.
And I'm the kind of guy who's flexible enough and adaptable enough that if somebody told me something like, well, I don't want to, scrub toilets or something. I don't want to spend my time cleaning. I have an aversion to like getting my hands dirty, but I'd rather spend all day doing, art for you or something because I'm a really talented painter. Is it okay with you if that's just how I spend my whole time here? And maybe I'd say, yeah, that makes a lot more sense to me.
Actually, you give them, lots of people opportunity.
Yeah, the new guy that arrived today, he saw all the various construction projects we have going on. He has construction experience. And he asked me, so what should I focus on while I'm here? And I said, well, there's a lot of projects that almost anyone could do. That's just kind of like heavy lifting, like moving things around. That's probably not the most valuable use of your time. Why don't you spend more time looking at what we've got going on here, and you tell me what you think the most valuable use of your time is based on your experience and your skills, right? Because I give you that freedom. And if the answer you give me is reasonable, I will agree to it. So yeah, maybe you shouldn't spend, that kind of person shouldn't spend their time scrubbing toilets or washing dishes, because there's more valuable stuff they could be doing, right?
And they will enjoy.
But don't tell me you're going to do it and then not do it. Come up with a reasonable case for why you shouldn't be expected to do it.
Yeah.
You want to know the ultimate irony with the German children, German 45-year-old children, when we told them some of the negative stories about our worst guests, which we frequently do because we find them entertaining and educational, to explain like here are the strange behavioral situations, the same stuff we talk about in the videos on our YouTube channel that I will eventually write a book about. They said, wow, you complain about your guests a lot. I wonder if you'll complain about us after we leave. I think like half jokingly. And I said to them also kind of half jokingly, well, you'd have to do something brand new that no one has ever done before. I said, like, you can't just be like a bad worker, or a mediocre person, or not a very friendly, like you have to do something so noteworthy that no one has ever done it before, and then we will talk about it for years.
Yeah.
And they did. And they did. Like, complain, you don't buy us enough vegetables or jam for our bread.
And it was all of them. Like when they say vegetable, it was a full of vegetable on the table, fresh.
Yeah, I had just, like, had literally that day brought in a huge armful of Swiss chard and beets and a bunch of stuff I harvested from the greenhouse, and it was sitting on the kitchen table. And they said, there aren't enough vegetables. And I pointed at the giant pile of vegetables, and I said, what are you talking about? Like, this isn't vegetables? This doesn't count? And then they said, well, what about jam?
Handmade jam, like.
Yeah, like the kind of stuff you usually have to pay extra for. Like, and so now we're talking about these Germans because of how noteworthy they were in their asshattery.
Yeah, we are not exaggerating. Like it was really exaggerating.
And that's why we tell these stories. Because if we don't go into specifics and say exactly what people did, everyone will think we are exaggerating. They'll say nobody could possibly act that way. Like, clearly it wasn't that bad, Gregory. No, we have witnesses. This is exactly what happened. We have we have recordings of some of these things happening.
Or when I was asking, like, can you eat normally and not 120 eggs and 1 kilogram apple in 10 minutes? And when I said, should I put a box and hide my portion of them in a box and write down my yes?
Yes,
And
they cannot self-regulate. They don't have portion control.
Yeah.
And we realized when you're dealing with children, yes, that's what you have to do. You have to hide half the food so they won't eat it immediately. With
Yeah.
adults, they will know to ration the food. What if those German pieces of shit had been here that first winter when the power goes out and the heat goes out and there's barely any food? What do you think they would have done? They would have hoarded all the food for themselves. They would have said, oh, we better eat this before everyone else does. Absolutely, that's what they would have done.
Yeah.
We're entitled to this.
No,
it's
I
Greg's
asked-
fault for not buying more.
Actually, I asked them what happened if it's earthquake or something. He said, we will eat. And said, what about others? I don't know. And it was the point that I called you when I said, what about this situation? What about that situation, to help them to understand the concept or the expectation? I said, he is not buying enough. And I said, and I was really mad, and I called you in that moment, come here and see, the volunteers are mad at you, but they are doing the revenge against other volunteers. And when I asked them, like, to say, oh yes, actually we said that it's not enough. And when you said what is not enough, I said, vegetable, it was on the table. Jam, it was behind it. And kind of you are like, how can I talk 5 more minutes with you when everything is there? And you expect, like, coming here to your grandmother. And
They're not interested in solutions. They're interested in complaining because it makes them feel validated.
Yeah. And
But there's this problem where it's hard to tell exactly where the line is that somebody should be forced out of my house. And especially when they're pretending everything's fine and not complaining to your face. And you say, okay, so maybe they're adjusting, maybe everything will be fine. And in reality, they're just growing more and more bitter and resentful and saying, fuck Greg, in private. And if I'd known that things were getting worse, not better, then I'd say, okay, you should just leave now before things get even worse. Not say, okay, we'll stay for 2 more weeks, even though it's clear from the first day you come here, you're not going to be happy here. Okay, so anyway, in the future, if you're wondering why we're not taking in new volunteers, now you know. There are specific people to blame. It's not entirely because of, like, this particular German couple or any one specific person. It's a conclusion we've been coming to for a while. But after these things happen in rapid succession, it's like, no, case closed. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm retired. This is not how I'm going to live my life anymore. Sorry. So yeah, they ruined it for everyone else who would actually be a good volunteer here. I appreciate the opportunity to come live here.
yeah.